welcome. So if you were here for last week's session, and if you weren't, that's okay. It's like sort of like a part one, part two, but they don't necessarily have to go together. Last week, we focused on the stretches for the outer hips. So different stretches you could do to target the outer hip. So it's like all in this area from your hip bone down to your glute, up through your back, and even down through the back of your leg. And so this week, today, we're going to focus on stretches for the flip side of that. So inner hip stretches. And the inner hip is really actually more like the groin. And the groin is the area that is from your pubic bone down to your knee. Okay, so that's sort of like the inside of the thigh. And one of the things that I talked about last week was that when we did last week's session on the outer hip, to stretch it, we're always moving the foot. So if I'm stretching the right hip, I move the right foot inwards. Okay, so it's opposite of what I want to do. So you could imagine today, since we're stretching the groin, that in order to get that stretch, we're often going to be moving the foot away from us in some way. So even like this position that I'm in right now stretches the groin, the foot's away from me, I'm getting a stretch on the inside of my right leg. And so I'll go walk through various stretches today that you can do to target this area. And just remember, keep in mind that not all of them have to work for you. I definitely have my favorites. I have my go-tos that I know are nice stretches for me. And then I have the ones that, I might not get much of a stretch at all, maybe because I'm limber in that part of my body or because of some type of limitation in another part of my body that's keeping me from experiencing that stretch. So the point is just to try them all and then find the one that works for you so that when you're out in a class somewhere or taking a class online and the teacher calls out a stretch that targets this area of the body, that you have this library of poses to go to where I don't want that one, but I know that this other one really works for me. Okay, so we'll start with this first one. It's going to be child's pose. You're going to see child's pose called in many different classes. It's sort of like a home base pose, a resting shape. And although it is a resting pose, it doesn't mean that there isn't stretching happening in the body. And so there is stress happening as a result of that. And you'll have to decide what's right for you or if it's something else. So to come into child's pose, you're going to start with your big toes to touch behind you. Your knees are apart. And then you'll start to bring your chest and your hands and your head down to the ground. Now, all that being said, there's variations of child's pose too. You could bring your knees closer together if that feels good. You could place a block or a pillow underneath your chest so that you don't go quite as far down to the ground. And then once you find child's pose, notice if you can relax the area around your hips. The other thing too is your hips might not sit all the way down to your heels. That's okay. That doesn't mean that you can't get the stretch. So even if your hips are elevated, that works as well. And this is a version of this hip opener where you're really targeting the left and the right at the same time. Most of the ones that we'll do today will target one side or the other. And then you'll start to lift up. And just as a release, you can bring your knees right underneath your hips. And let the belly drop towards the ground. Your tailbone lifts up. And then from here, I'm going to come into a one-sided hip opener. So if you did this in a class, you would do both sides. We're just going to do one side, and then we'll do another one-sided hip opener on the other side. So for this, we're going to come into a shape called half frog. There is a version of this that's full frog. To be totally transparent, I hate it. So I don't do it. It doesn't feel good in my body. If that is something you think you would like, Google it. There will be plenty of examples of it out there, but I always come into half frog and that really feels good for me. So you're going to take your right leg long behind you, and then your left knee is going to come out parallel to your left hip. Okay? And then you'll bring your chest down to the ground and you'll lay down. And so this is actually how I fall asleep, at night. This is what feels good for me. And so you can imagine the full version of this. You have both legs out to the right and left. That just does not work for me. But you can experiment with that in your body. And so if you were doing half frog in a class, you would do this side and then you would change over to the right side. And so just experience this for a few breaths. And then you can take your left leg long behind you. And then find your way up into a seat. And so we'll come into another hip opener, and this time we'll do the right side. We just did the left side on half frog, so we'll do the right side in a half straddle. So in the half straddle, you'll take your right leg out to the right, and then instead of leaning straight down the center, although you might get a stretch there as well, I'm leaning in between the center and my right leg, and then I'm getting a stretch again right from the pubic bone all the way down towards my knee. And you'll bow to the degree that's right for you. So when it starts to feel interesting, that's the spot to hold. And you can touch your toes, you cannot touch your toes, and you can still get the stretch. And start to lift up. And now we will lie down on your back. Another option to stretch this area is Supta Baddha Konasana. So you'll take the soles of your feet together, your knees out wide, and then you're going to lay down on your back. So again, here you're stretching both sides simultaneously. And if you're wondering, what that pose means, Supta Baddha Konasana. Supta is spine, so you're laying down. Baddha is bound. Kon is angle, so the knees are at an angle. And then asana is pose. So reclined, bound, angle pose, but nobody calls it that. So when you hear Supta Baddha Konasana, you'll know where to go. And then we're going to come into another version of this shape. And for this one, we're going to basically keep the legs the same and bow forward. So here, this is just Baddha Konasana. And then final option, and that doesn't mean that these are the only options. There's probably like 10 other options, but the final option that we'll do today, that you'll have in your toolbox of poses here, is Happy Baby. So you can lay down on your back, and you're going to take your knees up and out. Okay, knees up and out, and grab the soles of your feet. And then the feet are pushing outward, and the knees are heavy towards the ground. And then release. And this is not a hip stretch, but just to come in to finish, we'll come into a twist, take the right knee over the left, drop the knees to the left as you look right. And change sides. And then press yourself up into a seated position. And bring your thumbs to your forehead. Nama is name, stay is same. My name is your name. We are all the same. We bow forward together and say,